Today we're tearing into a Tascam 34B for a restoration. We're starting off with assessing what we need as far as more parts, any sort of major cosmetic things that we don't know about yet, which we pretty much know all about those. Luckily, there's no major dents or anything. Our first goal is going to be take the front off. We're assessing reel on the left there that why is the motor gone and anything else internally. Plus, we've already taken an inventory of external, functional, and cosmetic things that are missing. Ordering those. We're going to go forward. Let's get it done. Let's dig into it. For the Tascam 34 reel-to-reel tape recorder. I'm going to put the motor in right now, and hopefully we don't find anything else that's missing. I've done an assessment throughout the entire cavity of the tape machine, and I don't see anything else missing at this time or broke, other than the belts obviously need to have be replaced. So I'm hoping we get this motor in and test it. I tested the motor, bench tested the motor. It seems it works fine. I'm presuming this one works as well. We will see as we get this together and run some power through it, see what happens. So let's put it together. do any testing on it, I'm gonna change out the belt. And I already got 2 of the screws removed. Plus I removed the solenoid. Using acetone to clean off the ickiness from the belt. It's amazing, for as bad as that belt was, it didn't leave that much residue. New belt and pinch roller. Put that belt up as far as I can on the flywheel. Pull this one over. Belt will self-adjust. Just run it a few times and it's perfect. Amazingly, the heads are not that bad on this machine. I would have guessed otherwise. Wasn't used much, but it was treated poorly. Now we'll do the pinch roller. I'm going to take and use a razor blade. The messiest job you'll ever do on a tape machine. Be careful you don't gouge the pinch roller. It's aluminum, so it can be gouged quite easily. A couple of nicks here and there don't hurt, but you don't want to change the overall diameter or anything, or take major hunks out, because that'll throw it off balance probably. This may have some impact on how the new pinch roller stays on the hub. The pinch roller tire stays on the hub. If you don't get it that close, you could actually put the roller in a little container of acetone. Went and ran it under some hot water. Put a little bit of soap in the center to get it to slide on easily. But biggest thing you want to make sure of is the tire is on the hub centrally. You want to say that. And then once it's on the hub center, it's somewhat dry, or pretty much dry. Spin it on there just to make sure it's not like a wobbly tire. Little washer there. Make sure those are on there. Actually, now that we got the belt done, take and I still have to put the actuator motor on. I'm trying to get this back on the same spot as it was. You see the marks where the screws were. It is slotted, so clean off some dust. Any rubber dust. Yeah, again, once I make sure it's working, then I'm going to go through the whole thing, lube and clean, and probably take it all apart again. I use some synthetic lightweight oil. Because this tape comes in contact with this stuff, so you don't want to have much at all of any. It almost might be too much. You see this thing kind of cockeyed after you tighten it up. That means that your nylon washer isn't on there right. One you really want to be careful with, because it's obviously putting pressure against the tape. Make sure you get no oil on the. You can see this is tightened against the washer. If you put the washer on first and then put it on, it won't fall off and get all cockeyed. Now I'm going to take the opportunity to clean the heads and do the potentiometers. Clean the tape guides. Again, they're not that bad either. You know, for as poorly as this machine has been treated, it's actually in really good shape. And obviously what we're using today is DeoxIT D5. Alright, we're going to remount the tape controls, the buttons that you push to play the tape and rewind and record. Originally they were glued on to this front cover, but over time that glue has lost its gluiness. In that case, the controls or the buttons got pushed in, so we're going to clean this glue up and reattach the buttons. It looks like general purpose glue, usually isopropyl. We could try a little acetone. Will work. Remove the old glue. You want to remove the old glue because it stands the best chance for adherence with the new glue. Even though isopropyl alcohol and acetone are two different chemicals. A lot of people think they're the same thing. They're not. Basically, acetone is like a nail polish remover. Isopropyl is a pure form of alcohol, rubbing alcohol. Exactly. They kind of do the same thing. They don't necessarily smell the same, even though sometimes I think they can kind of smell the same, I guess. It depends on, I think it more or less depends on what type of acetone you get. Acetone's got the more stronger, you need fresh air type smell than isopropyl rubbing alcohol. Rubbing alcohol is a little more, yes, less volatile when it comes to poison level, or toxicity level, I should say, as far as the having to have fresh air, ventilation. Acetone is definitely going to be the one you're going to want to make sure you have fresh air with, or else it will, it could cause you to pass out eventually, but it'll give you one hell of a headache. Now I'm trying the rubbing alcohol. Neither one of them really making a dent in this. Now we're gonna remount the control buttons back onto the faceplate, the back of the faceplate, and then I'm going to re-secure down the plastic UV or VU meter covers and get it all secured nicely so it doesn't fall apart. For the buttons, I'm going to use some JB KwikWeld Epoxy and then I'm going to use some industrial strength super glue to hold down the VU meters windows. Since I do have to suspend this over something because the buttons protrude out from the face, I can't do it on the flat surface. I've got to suspend it over, and I don't want any excess dripping on the floor. So I'm definitely going to apply enough to ensure it's held down properly, but so it doesn't squeeze and leak out the front or anything. Now that it's in, I'm just going to put something of somewhat weight on it. Now I'm going to apply some industrial super glue for the VU meter windows. And spread it out with a Q-tip to avoid any excess purging out the front. Just hold it in place for a few seconds. Okay, now that we have the faceplate and all of its corrections out of the way, we're going to focus on detailing the buttons and knobs that are plastic and in the lower half of the unit. Want to get them shining as best as possible and clean off any dirt and grime they've accumulated over the years. So, as you can see, I've moved all of the push button buttons, I guess you want to call them. These are real simple. Once you have the faceplate off, all you have to do is pinch them and pull backwards and they come right off. All I'm going to do is use some isopropyl rag, take each button and clean every side. One thing I will say on a serious note is these LED lights that come out are very bendy. And I don't know how to test to see how weak they are. They're, relatively sturdy, but the biggest thing is when you put the faceplate back on, these have to line up with the tiny hole slots they go in on the faceplate. So you want to make sure they're in a good line. They're not this way, or else you go to put the faceplate on, you can smash it into there, or bend it up worse, and you want this to slide in there. They kind of have a little self-guiding dealio. You look. You know, bevel angular helps guide it in. But if it's too far gone or too bent, it's going to just flatten out. And that won't be good. Now we're to the point where we can install our face. One little tip I have, if you're interested in doing these type of repairs, I recommend getting like a plano plastic storage box, one of these like almost like a fishing style box. You know, I don't get big, you know, I don't get a huge one for this, but these are all the fasteners I've taken off when I was disassembling it, and I number the boxes. And this shows me basically, number one is the first fasteners that I remove during the process, and then I go to number 2 and 3. So this is a kind of a little timeline to where the last bolt. So basically when you go to reassemble, your compartments would start emptying from this way, and then you would end up with fasteners in the number 1. If I have to stop or come back to it later, then I take and actually put on a little like a work order, and then I state what's in each compartment for fasteners. So even like a month or 2 later, you know, which normally would never take that long, but if it was to, then I know where these fasteners go. A little bit since I took these off, I'm just gonna put a tiny on the inside lip, not the outside, the inside. Just put a tiny drop of oil in there. Now, normally I would have this maybe on its back. What I'll do, which makes this easier, that's the reason why I was saying, there's a little bit of a stud that sticks out past the inner bushing of the pinch roller. Well, that gap is taken up by a Teflon washer around this brass bushing that's around there. This is a Teflon washer, so it's got to be over that collar. What happens is if you don't do that, or if you leave it on the inside of this, that's the biggest thing. It'll sit on the, if you leave it on the inside of the screw part of the cap, it'll go on there kittywampus and get pinched and crushed and bent. Okay, now we're going to put on our new knobs for our input and output controls and headphones. Little tip that can save you some money. Again, we don't know what this person did that previously owned this machine. We had missing screws, missing guts, parts, but also missing output and input knobs and headphone volume knob. There's really none available right now. The only ones I could find were like $20 a knob, which I'm not going to pay $150 almost for a set of knobs for this thing. And plus the OEM equipment knobs aren't all that good looking, you know. So I picked up a set or a set of knobs. These were still, you know, a little spendy because they're nicely machined, aluminum anodized. I'll put a link in the thing below, maybe, where I got them, but they're pretty much the same thing, but they actually look a lot better. I'm gonna turn everything all the way down so I can get the positioning correct. It looks like the tables look like they're adjusted perfectly fine. This is called the real table, or table, and make sure these aren't set offset inwards or set inside this bevel too far, where the reel will scrape on this bevel as it spins. So you don't want it too far out, because then you're going to run into balancing issues, and you know, it's just not a good thing to have it way out. There's something else too. I'm not. Oh, the braking mechanism there won't catch the felt pad that goes around the table. So too far out, your braking mechanism isn't going to work properly. Too far in, your reel is going to scrape on this bevel. So, because there is an access to get to the hub down there with the set screws to adjust this out if I need to. This is the set screws on the table hub. I'll spin it so you can get a better idea. But you loosen those two screws, and then you can move the inner hub, which is separate from the table itself. They're connected via screws. You can slide that on. The shaft motor runs into there, and that's what those screws clamp down on from that hub. And you loosen those screws, and you can slide the hub in and out on the shaft out of the electric or the left motor. Okay, as you can see, got it all back together. It's powered up for your viewing pleasure and testing pleasure. I'm going to test it out now using some of the soothing sounds of 50 Guitars Visit Hawaii. Hopefully YouTube doesn't freak out about it. It's not a real common album, I don't believe, but I'm sure somebody holds the copyright still on it. But nevertheless, minus our tape counter not working, and also doing some more cosmetic repairs and stuff, and maybe a few more tweaks and adjustments depending on how it sounds. I think we're done. I think we are. So let's forgo any more formalities and test it out. All right, there we go. Now, this was a stereo tape, 7.5 IPS, inches per second. And the only other option, the 34B, since it is a professional recording machine, the only other option it has is the 15 inches per second. I'm going to just say that, you know, the recording's going to work on this. Everything else seems to be falling in line. So, you know, we have the line works. Fast forward works. Pause works. On that note, we'll end the video. Thanks for watching. Remember to hit like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. See you in the next vintage audio overhaul.